Alright guys, hi, it's Kartik. We'll be discussing the TEDx UW meeting we're supposed to be having today, but it's Super Bowl Sunday, so I can imagine why a lot of you guys were not available to come. I will first point you to the link in the description that will have the TEDx agenda for the meeting that was supposed to be today. We're going to be going through most of it except for the speakers part. We're going to be addressing that later at a different time. We have, last time I checked, 25 speakers we have to pare down, consolidate. So that will come at a later time. But for right now, we're going to be addressing the first meeting we had on, what was it? Not our meeting, between Stan Chernikoff with me and Tim, which was on the 27th. We met up to discuss certain aspects of like how do we bring the TEDx event to the University of Washington, like what are some good ideas, people to talk to, timings that we should do it, places we can do it, and just in general like what we should be expecting as we move forward with this event and hopefully soon a tradition. I'll bring that up in a little bit. What my original intention was, when we originally started this, was that we would have it in Meany Hall, and we'd have all that space, the general atmosphere for the theater, and it would work out for having that many, like, there's just the feel of it, the atmosphere for the TEDx event would, in my perspective, would work out best in that area. But after discussing it with Stan, he pointed out that it has 1,100 seats, and it is quite a bit more expensive than some of the other places around campus. So it really came down to whether or not we were able to bring more than 100 people, our max limitation for a TEDx event, due to being a TEDx event and not having a person that's already been to an actual TED event to assist us in the organization of TEDx UW. So that was one thing to consider, and he pointed out that Kane 130 was another solution for our problem because it is considerably less expensive, and it's another speaking area within campus. So it has, I believe, 700 something seats, and that the 700 seats is less than Meany Hall, but if we were only limited to the 100 people at that time, we thought, it'd be a better idea to go off with Kane 130 rather than Meany Hall, just for the sheer fact that if we have too many people, if we have too few people and the stadium or theater is way too large and it seems really empty, it might not work in the end, just for the sake of, is it a successful event or not? So that's one aspect of it. The location, and Tim and I afterwards, we scoped out Kane 130, and I think that Kane 130 also has quite a bit of potential for hosting a TED event there. So that's one thing to consider. Next, on to funding. So Stan didn't mention this, but we had an idea beforehand that it'd be good to start off as an RSO. And I guess I'll bring up the RSO stuff as we get to it in the agenda. So RSO is one aspect of funding. What we need to be able to fund is the expenses for the place we're renting out, and if it's Kane 130, roughly 1,000 to 2,000. If it's Meany Hall, I've heard somewhere around the range of 5 to 6. Stan did mention, though, that if we were able to find a professor that could somehow relate the TEDx event to something that's in the curriculum for like the class that you were taking with that professor, it would be much easier to get the location we want for relatively much cheaper than usual. So this is an open call to all you guys that if you're taking a class that might somehow tie in with the TEDx event, maybe something to consider to bring up to the entire team, just for sake of cutting expenses. There's the RSO money, which comes through ASUW pool, and I guess this is an open call maybe to think of other areas to fundraise, and I'm totally open for having ticket prices for the TEDx event and also for corporate sponsorship. But that's something we'll have to tackle as a team, because to pick the right sponsors that will actually sponsor the event, but also be okay with some of the stringent advertising policies that the TEDx has. So that's that. Next, it comes down to timing, which is something else we discussed. Stan pointed out that if we were to hold an event late May to early June, this is something else other people have pointed out too, is that we would have a more difficult time to actually book one of the Kane 130 Meany Hall, because there's so many things going on just in the campus in general that those types of places are already booked out. So he pointed out that it's not impossible. There's definitely possible to get room. It's just that it becomes more difficult as we approach that time. So he also pointed out something that was very interesting to me, is to make this a dog days event, which would mean that we would have access to a greater pool for funding, and it lay the foundation for becoming a more of a tradition at the University of Washington, where we would have speakers address the student body and in a TEDx way, or just hosting a TEDx event every year on Dog Days. And the access to the funding would become, it'd be better off for us, because funding is an issue. It's not as much of an issue. It really depends on where you're doing it, and how many people are coming, which is another aspect of our event. Because if we were at the meeting, we were discussing, if we're not able to get past 100 people, the limitation, we would have to do something. We'd reevaluate the situation. Okay, so that's that. If you guys have any questions about that, you can't obviously question me right now, so shoot me an email. We're going to move on to the phone call I have with Laura Stein. It shouldn't be Sarah Stein. I'll change that. Maybe it is Sarah. I have no idea. Nonetheless, while I'm checking that, the things we talked about were the attendance restraints, TEDx being a cross-discipline event. It's Laura Stein. Never mind. I apologize. I'll change that. If you don't know, I have a TV there that acts as my second monitor. So she called me. A funny story is that I was sleeping around 8 o'clock, and I heard my phone going off, and I woke up slightly just to check the number to see who it was, and I didn't recognize the number. I was like, alright, whatever, it's 8 o'clock, I'm going back to sleep. I'll check the phone call later. And as I get back into bed, I realize that 8 plus 3 equals 11, and that perhaps this person, Laura, is on the East Coast. I was actually correct. And though we had time for 11, I was thinking 11 is 11 for her, which means 8 for me. So I abruptly woke up, and I scrambled to gather my laptop and any other information I needed to discuss with her. So that was my little jolt in the morning. So I started explaining what we're doing at UW and what our theme is, and she was really excited about it, and she sounded great. And the main purpose of the phone call was to discuss why we wanted to stream it at the same time around campus and how we would accomplish that. She did point out one issue that I have overlooked, and it's surprising that I overlooked this in the first place, that if we did go the projector route, and we did this during the daytime, how, like, are we going to get that good of a projector that you can see it during daytime, or would we just throw out a projector out there and because of the glare you wouldn't be able to see anything? So it's a very interesting issue that now I have to decide on how to tackle that, if I still want to go down that route, or if we still want to go down that route. And I'm sure there's tech out there. I'll get to it. If you guys have any suggestions on how to take that on, be my guest. So she brought up that issue, and I was like, it'd be great to engage as much of the college life as we can. She agreed, so I threw out the idea of maybe if we could go above the 100 limitation, and because we have so much support from the other TEDx events in our area, I asked, can we perhaps move past the 100 to include more people? And I also gave her a schematic of how the rooms are laid out, how there's a balcony level where people can come and go without disrupting the actual TEDx event, which would be happening below. Because I was feeling that people would just sit up in the balcony, come in as they want, listen to the speeches going on, or talks going on, and they would just be educated. I got shot down very strictly. She was very adamant about the fact that 100 people for a TEDx event, there's a specific limitation, and why they do it is because they want the feel for the event would be ruined if you had not been to a TED event, apparently. Like, if you actually went to a TED event, you could have like 400 something people, or even more than that. But she explained how the intimacy of the entire event breaks down with the more people that you have, and I sort of agree with that, and something to consider now, because it really changes how we're approaching this event. So that's something we should all decide on as a team as we're going forward. She also stresses cross-discipline, which I tended to ignore earlier on, but I guess I shouldn't anymore. You guys have a great selection of speakers from various walks of life, and so I guess our theme is education, college, but it should be more of a suggestion rather than a guiding factor. So that's one aspect of it. As we move forward, when we discuss how to consolidate the speaker list, we'll have to sorry, I got a text message. Go away. We'll have to decide on speakers that are cross-discipline. She mentioned, you can have music performances and whatnot, which I wouldn't mind. That's great. Even if there may be college people from our university to show off our university, that could be a great way to work on that. So basically, she told me she's going to be talking with some people at the TED organization regarding the outside cross-streaming or simultaneous, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I probably shouldn't have said that. But she said she'd follow up with me after I sent in all my licensing stuff, application. So I'm working on that right now. Hopefully soon we'll be able to push it in. I'll take that on. I've been actually kind of busy with this next aspect of the agenda, the RSO registration. So in order to register an RSO, you need to go to this orientation meeting and blah blah blah, whatever. They just provided us information, so I'm about to almost verbatim tell you. Benefits include access to the ASU Dub pool of money reserved for RSOs. You get 2 hours free booking of campus resources, so if I was to book a room for our meetings, we'd have a great room to work with tech necessary to do so. So the thing is, I need officers technically. These officers are the only ones that would be able to officially represent our RSO, which would be named TEDx UW, or that's what I temporarily put it as. So these officers require, they represent our RSO, and they would have access to our, like the printing, like we'll have 5,000 free black and white prints and whatnot. So for the officers, I guess if you feel that you're really into this event, event program, whatnot, if you're really wanting to do this, shoot me your name. God, what is this? Go away. Oh my God. Sorry, text messages. Alright, so shoot me your name, your UW ID number, and your UW net ID. And when the RSO registration officially opens for me on Monday or tomorrow, I will include that stuff. And the first three that, oh, actually I shouldn't say that. Yeah, the first three that email me, one is going to be me, one's going to be Tim, and then the next three, I mean, officers don't really mean crap in our organization or our team, because we are a team, and we all have something to say, and we all have an equal part in this. Officers, just for the sake of this RSO being registered, I need your guys' information. So that's that. If you have any questions, emails, suggestions, points of talk, perspectives, shoot me an email or post on the TEDx UW page on Facebook. If you're not already a part of this, you can request to be added. More the merrier, but only if you're genuinely interested in doing this. I can't have people taking up our time. As for the speakers, I will find a time for us to all meet together. I'll probably throw up a doodle soon for the week between the 13th and the 19th. We should meet up, like a solid event, and meet up and do this. Alright, well, that's signing off for TEDx UW. If you need the agenda, it's in the description. See you guys later.